Hello, everyone, and welcome to another chapter of Jack Jameson, written by Ryland Mason and narrated by me, Brian Shepard. Chapter 5. I just don't understand why Christopher had to go along with taking Cassius's help. The man ruined my life, took credit for finds that were mine, and now is helping us. Something doesn't smell right with this. He's got to be up to something. Cassius is the type to only help or do something when it benefits him. Driving to the hotel was a quiet ride, as I had nothing to say to either one. Good thing was, the hotel was not that far, because I wanted out of this car. Arriving at the hotel, I decided I would get to the front desk first and check in. The room had better have 2 beds this time. "Good afternoon, sir. Checking in?" the receptionist said as I walked up to the counter. "Yes, Jameson, check." I was also wondering if the room had 2 beds and not 1, as there are 2 of us traveling. I said to her as she typed in my name. Maybe she would understand what I meant. "Mr. Jameson, sir, this is just your room. I don't see anyone else staying with you. Would you like for me to see if I can find a double room?" she asked as I moved my head side to side, as in, no. Then she proceeded to give me the check-in spiel, which I hear so many times. "Sir, your room is located on the 3rd floor, backside, room 314. Take the elevator up, and you will take a right. Ice machines are located to the left of the elevators. Our pool closes at 9 p.m., and our bistro bar and grill closes at 11 p.m., where you can also enjoy our buffet breakfast starting at 6 a.m. Also, your checkout time is no later than 11 a.m. We hope you enjoy your stay, and please press 0 on the phone if you need anything." And she finished with a smile. Well, I got most of that, as it's always the same line they give you anywhere you stay. Unfortunately, this hotel did not have preferred rooms like they did when I stayed at Disney. Otherwise, I'd be closer to the food. If I've learned anything from my aunt, it's always to go with preferred rooms. And the longer you stay, the cheaper it is. Darn, why can't I be there instead? All this Disney thinking is making me want to go after I find Lorena's diamond crown. Now that I was checked in, and Christopher checking in as I walked towards the elevator, he called out to me. "Jack, we're meeting at the bistro with Cassius to go over the information he's gathered and to come up with a plan. Let's say around 6, he said, and then he smiled and turned back to the receptionist. Of course, Cassius, still standing there next to Christopher, just grinned like always. A grin I'd like nothing more than to rip off his face. Just to slap him with it. Okay, time to get back to thinking about the crown and Haunted Mansion. 6 o'clock gave me plenty of time to shower and freshen up, along with a nap. Too much was going through my head. Adding good old Cassius to the mix made it worse. If Christopher thought he was safe from our talk, he was mistaken. The room, of course, was plain Jane, yet they always welcomed you as they put on the TV with your name on the screen. 1 king-size bed, a beautiful bathroom with a glass shower just waiting for me to try out. Bon voy, I say, it's the best chain of hotels. The professor must be rolling on the room rewards. Shower, changed, and now ready for a nap. I need the sleep to deal with both of them later. Coming down the elevator, I found where the bistro was after getting lost and ending up in the fitness room. I see that the 2 of them are cozy at a corner table with what seemed like colorful drinks. "Jack, welcome to our little party. Here, let me get you a drink and then we can get started." "Chris, did you need anything while I'm up?" Christopher nodded and said no, as I proceeded to slide into the bench seat. The bartender seemed to be by herself, and there was a lot of people waiting for drinks, so now was the perfect time to talk. Why, Cassius, you know I don't care for him. He's nothing but a liar, no good piece of... Christopher then interrupted me before I had a chance to finish. Jack, I understand. However, sometimes in this field of work, it's just like your favorite movie. Oh, what's the name? Oh yeah, National Treasure, the second one. You have to work with the enemy and try to be one step ahead of them. I'm simply using him for information. Information that we need. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you, and I know I should have. Yeah, I knew you would not have gone along with it. Just pay attention and listen for clues, he said as Cassius returned with the drinks and sat next to Christopher. Oh, Jack, you always look like someone kicked a dog. Cheer up, as I have a lot of information to go over with Chris and of you, of course. I might have the information you're looking for as to the location of the lost city. Turning his head to face Christopher, continuing on to laying out what looked like a hand-drawn map of some sort, I was looking for a red X with a circle around it, yet, of course not. That would be too easy. Care to explain what this map is and how you came about it? Christopher piped up and asked him before I had the chance. I'd love to hear this. There was a pair of adventure seekers who decided it would be cool to trek through the jungle, and one stopped to check out the wildlife. He said he tripped on something, when he looked down, that's when he stumbled upon what was the top of a wooden crate of sorts. No metal nails to keep it closed, and of course, over the years, started to decay. When they removed the cover, they found what seemed to be a letter which had Duke Burns' seal on it. Broken, of course. Also, another letter, which had an interesting seal on it along with this map, which was small enough to pull out. You may want to read her father's letter, as we are assuming the other is and would have been her response. Yet it seems hers was never delivered. We have not opened hers as of yet. I wanted to wait till we were able to meet, he finished, and of course my mind is swirling with questions. A buried crate? A map? Letters with official seals? One not opened? Is this just more clues left behind by the Knights Templar? Sorry, but that just reminded me of Oak Island, as I always felt bad for them, just as I had no luck yet myself. Love that show. God, my DVR must be full. Jack? Hello, Earth to Jack, Christopher practically yelled as he tapped on the table, which brought me back to reality. Okay, focus. I'm listening, and I find all of this interesting. Tonight, I would love to open her letter and see what we can find out. So, what can you tell me about the map? I asked, as that also piqued my interest. We believe this was done by Queen Lorena herself, but without knowing what she wrote, we won't know what it means or where it goes. So, I suggest we move on, perhaps to your room, Chris. He smiled and looked at Christopher. Not Chris. He hated being called Chris. Only I got away with that. I wanted to punch him so bad. Either that, or I could at least stick the drink umbrella in his eye. Lord, I must just be jealous of someone I can't stand. Great. Well, add that to the list and file that for later. Right now, we need to open this letter and see what was going through her mind, or hopefully it explained the map. We made it to Christopher's room, which pissed me off, as he had a first floor with a pool view. Whatever. Reaching into his bag, Cassius took out a black box and placed it on the desk. Chris and I just sat next to each other at the end of the bed, wide-eyed and watching in wonder, as then he pulled out white gloves. Putting them on, he then unlocked the box. He then handed me a pair, which I immediately stood up and put on. I was getting excited as he took out the letter with her seal on it, still intact. I instructed Chris to take photos of everything before and after. This would be for reference, and you never know if the real thing goes missing. I carefully broke the seal, which was made of wax. Surprisingly, the earth must have been cool enough not to melt or destroy. She was writing to her brother John, it seemed. The date in the corner suggested that years had passed, as the date was March 1625, the same month that King James died. John wrote and had it sent because he was letting her know that their father had passed away, that he was unsure of what would happen now that James's son Charles, Prince of Wales, took over and favor was lost in the royal court, as their father was banished from court due to unpaid taxes, which many thought was sort of keeping money from the crown. James pretty much banished him from court. He longed to see his sister, and that's when he decided to write and wait for her response that he would leave home and visit her. Yet the Duke never said where or how to get to her. Her letter then gave instructions and a map, it seems, for where he would go when he made the journey, and that someone would meet him. If I open the letter, again, that means it was never sent. Great. More questions. I have studied the map and have researched where I believe is the area in which we must search. Sleep tight, as we have twin engines to catch in the morning. Our adventure begins in the morning, Cassius said, as the letter was returned to the box. I really hate flying. I was ready before anyone else, it seemed, as I was waiting for them in the bistro, having breakfast. The buffet was filled with all types of food, which all looked and smelled delicious. However, I was only after the waffles, along with a side of mixed fruit and a tall glass of milk. Simple, just the way I like it. First, I have to make the waffles, which I had to wait, as it seems it was Senior Citizens Day, and they either don't know what they're doing or they just take too long. I knew I should have gotten up earlier. Finally, my turn. I just closed the waffle maker when I heard my name. Chris. What? Couldn't wait for me, he said, staring at me while yawning. I simply pointed to the table, and he could see a tray with a food covered. Chris loved breakfast. It was his favorite meal of the day, so why not start the day making him a plate? Coffee and orange juice as well, and yes, I remember you taking it with cream and 2 sugars, I said as I just stood there. And while he stood there, trying to think of something to say, I turned to flip my waffle. Thank you. I'll go sit and wait for you, is all he said as he made his way through the sea of people to the table in the back. Now to eat and get ready for another plane ride, which of course I was not looking forward to. Cassius finally joined us, and we were just finishing up. He told us that we would be taking another person on for security purposes, as you never know what could happen out there. Security? Cassius always had some goon follow him around. Yet what got me was the fact that the guys always helped with the dig, not security. In my mind, I was questioning it. Taking the cab, we picked up the other guy, who was introduced as Bruce. Just Bruce. He was at least 6'1", built like a Mack truck, and was quiet. When we arrived at the small airport, the pilot and plane were fueled and ready for us to take off. We boarded the Beechcraft G-58 Baron, which surprised me as I thought they didn't make them anymore. In no time, we were in the air, and Cassius was giving directions and going over the small map we had to pinpoint a location close enough for us to land. I was just thinking it would have been easier to take a boat. Landing might be difficult, considering it's the jungle. What do I know? The ride seemed to be going well as the sun started to fully rise, and according to Cassius, we didn't have that much far to travel. So I decided to make small talk with Chris. As we were chatting about the area and the plan, when out of the corner of my eye, Bruce pulled out a gun and shot the pilot in the head. The plane started to take a nosedive, sending me and Chris out of our seats and onto the floor. My first instinct was to grab and help Chris, while also trying to figure out what was going on. Sorry about that. Just tying up loose ends. Now only 2 more to go, Cassius said as Bruce took over flying. Chris was shaking and shocked, seeing the pilot dead. Cassius, what are you doing? Why did you have to kill him? Is that your plan, to kill off everyone and find it for yourself? Which, by the way, makes no sense, as you had the map the whole time. Why not just find it yourself and forget us? Why bring us into the fold? Chris said, while trying to stay calm. I, on the other hand, wanted to throw him out the door. Yet the gun he was holding while pointing it at us prevented me from doing so. You have the other half of the information, silly. So now I'm afraid this is where we get off and you stay. Again, tying up loose ends. Rigging the plane, the both of them quickly grabbed parachutes while I held on to Chris and told him to hold on because once the door opened, it might drag us out. Bruce, now with his gun pointed it at us, signaled for them to jump, leaving me and Chris in the plane that I'm pretty sure neither one of us knew how to fly. Now what? Thanks, everyone. I'll see you at Chapter 6.